Finished now.
That's okay, good.
Does,
We're meant to
does
hear
that
what we're
sort of
meant to
make
hear.
sense to everyone? Like, or you got a sense of that just with utilizing the music as that portal, as
Mhm.
letting that sound in rather than pushing it away, letting it almost like back in. And in a sense, that's what we're doing with all the, whatever the thoughts, the imagery represents that we've put outside of each, ourselves, and it looks like it's something not light, and we might call it whatever, anger or out there or whatever, arrogant person, like, and you'll feel the frequency of that thought as it's carried in our mind, as if it's something,
Mm.
that has meaning, because we've made it meaningful. So does anyone sort of want to like talk about just with it, like for a second, just utilizing the music and your experience with that? I know the music was pretty soft. I don't know whether that makes any difference, but yeah, go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, so the way you describe it is so weird. Like, I totally understand what you're saying, but I've never heard it said like that. I'm like, yeah, I know what you're saying. I don't really use music much in meditation, but when I do, it does bring you kind of to like a different level. Especially I'll feel like now when we were just sitting here, I could feel like it starts to get warm around my ears. I feel like staticky around my arms. You know, in my mind, I'll start shifting into shapes and colors and like geometric kind of shapes and stuff like that, which is different than if it's, something, without music. It's just a different feel for sure. But I like how you describe that. That makes a lot of sense. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but that's
Well, no, it's not, it's going to be what it is, sort of thing, when we let that in, but it is just that action of allowing it, what's been pushed in, to come back in again. So, and anything in that sense, what seems to be outside, if I let it in, can start opening my mind, in
yeah,
a sense, to shift into, to reach different parts that need opening up, in a sense, because I've held them in littleness, if that
sure.
makes sense. Or, there's been a judgment around it. So the energy is encapsulated, you could say. Did anyone else get a sense of that with the using
That's
the?
what I was going to say. I just noticed, I don't know if it had to do necessarily with the music per se, but just the activity of it, this inability to be natural. And I just noticed that as almost like a doing for myself. Like, okay, let me be natural, as opposed to allowing that state of uncomfortableness in, like you were saying, not as something that's projected out into separateness, but something to allow that, an opportunity for the light to hit that something that I want to project out as a way that Tina should be. Even Tina should be comfortable. Or why is Tina not comfortable? As something that I want to push away from myself and correct, as opposed to something that I want to bring in to, to sort of transmute. So yeah, that was just something interesting, because but it wasn't, I don't know if it was necessarily the music, but I got a little bit uncomfortable, like, the music, am I in control of the music, and do I have a role here? And all of these things started popping up for me, and it was like, I can't just be natural. And what is that about? So yeah, that's experience.
Yeah, and that is, yeah, so whatever what it's noticing, it's like that noticing where there's just that little discomfort, however it's arising, whether it seems to be a little discomfort or a lot discomfort, as we might judge it. But yeah, just that noticing, and that holding of the image, our image, in some way, and looking upon it without judgment. So just pausing in the midst of that discomfort. Oh, there it is. So yeah, the music can be one way of starting to unwind, joining with that to unwind that discomfort, because it's like I let that in. Like I would find for myself, sometimes I can be a bit, if there's a lot of discomfort, it's almost like I solidify it more. I go to look at it and there's not a relaxant. So it's like letting the music in for a moment can be used as just a stepping back from the discomfort, you could say, almost as well. So your mind starts relaxing a bit to meet however that discomfort is arising or is being held in mind. That's another way.
And also the way that I wanted to make it about, like it was about the music and not necessarily about this discomfort that's kind of always around, you know what I mean? So it's like, it was very easy to make it, the music is making me uncomfortable, the group is making me uncomfortable, as opposed to this discomfort, this inability to be natural as a kind of like a something that's always there, and like that can't be me, but that goes into a concept, but just that was very helpful to like notice, like, why can't I just listen to music? You know what I mean? Like, what is that? And wanted to blame it on the music, and it has nothing to do with it. It's just that sort of state of I'm not enough, or you know what I mean? That just I'm not, which has to be a result of what we all know it's a result of, that belief that I'm separate from my father, that there's, you know what I mean, that there's something lacking. It just can't be. Well, yeah.
I like that too, that you did pick it up, that I'm projecting it onto the music too, so you can sort of stop that projection for a moment. Because I don't know, I guess you all would have probably experienced, when there's a lot of anger or something, and then all of a sudden you find yourself looking around for something to pin it on, as if there's a causation outside, like it's something in form that's caused this anger, and you all of a sudden you're feeling yourself irritated, and you're looking around going, what's made this happen, sort of thing. So you're literally looking for the causation as if it's something to do with something in form. So it's great noticing that. Yeah, I'm looking, thinking it's about the music. I'm thinking it's about this situation, that discomfort, but the discomfort's already there as part of holding on to that thought system of separation. And that's being unwound and transformed. Does anyone else want to sort of just share for a moment whatever happened with the music for them, or anything about this? Francois?
Yeah, there was moments when I felt one with the music, and then there was moments when there was Francois listening to the music. Yeah. Yeah. And then the judgments, and then using God all over. Separation. What a beautiful, what you explained, Anna and Tina. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Francois. Tina, do you want to take, if no one else sort of wants to talk about that, just like the little, like I say, just that subtleties, when we're doing that, like, and it's like, it just gave us that opportunity for a second just to notice those things, like where I started pushing the sound away again for me, like, there's like, and there's a me listening to the sound. I start to come in to listen to the sound rather letting that sound come in and it being just included, bypassing a me and included back into mind, and noticing, where there's just a moment of that subtle resistance to it again arise, and dropping that, and then it's starting to drop down just the frequency of that sound as if it's opening up and getting into nooks and crannies and opening up. And I was like, for me, going into almost chakric things, so starting it to it's like that sensation's almost like a wave of light coming back, I'm including back in, that's doing its work. If I get out of the way, if
I'm always aware initially. With music, I have a real hard time with words, so I'm gonna try to. I always know. I feel initially separate from everybody. I can like see my body held really stiff. Okay. And I'm aware of the thoughts that everybody's looking at me. I can't move the way I want to. I can't be freely abandoned. Those are a lot of the thoughts that go through. And I'm was aware of those. They're not as intense as they used to be, but there's always that initial, and very bought into the separateness of me and other. And then with the music itself, when I sort of, that's a useful phrase, moving toward it, allowing the vibration of it, just sort of like a tuning fork, trying to kind of lining up with it. Then the self-consciousness, the sense of separateness starts to leave. And then it's just the movement, just the vibration, and almost an inability not to move with it. That's part of it. Again, words are craziness here. So this, it's very vibratory. And I, at some point, become lost in that and not worried, if you will, or aware of separation or concerned about it or anything. So that, I never thought of that before. So that linked up today with this session with the idea of conceal, the field of concealment. Okay. Again, these are words, but the imagery that comes with that for me is sort of this packed down. I got this word about a week ago, desiccated shit. It's just all dried up and packed. And there's nothing really wrong with desiccated shit. It can be a fertilizer, if it's used. So it's like the music, the vibration, the movement, it starts to move what's packed down. And almost all music will bring up feelings, either whatever the music might be, the vibration of it, if I'm lined up with it. So it's a tool or a thing or something that moves this packed down, unconscious, dark, hardened thing that when it's loosened up becomes something totally different. Anyway, that's the best I can do.
Thanks, Fran. That was perfect. That was really beautiful. Thank you. And I mean, for me, as I'm listening to your voice, because like I was saying, anything can be used. So Fran's voice, I mean, I'm hearing the words, but I'm also letting the words be a vibratory frequency and using it in the same way we use the music. So the same thing is happening. So even though the words, and I could hear what she was saying in a sense and go, yeah, that's perfect, you know, what's happening, you know, perfect description. But still at the same time letting the concepts just go and let this vibratory frequency of her voice be the same as listening to the music. And I mean, it sort of really reminds me of you know, a lot of you probably, you know we were with Dave and I were with the old man. Well, Dave wasn't really, he was more with Teddy. But the old man, you know, people would try to track what he was saying, and in the end their mind, because he'd just go from one thing, just one side of the mind to the other. And you know that in the human mind we're sort of trying to grab hold of one concept and make that true, but then he'd say the whole opposite of it. So that mind would just end up collapsing, you know, they'd just like give up at some point and enter into that light. But he was really, it was the vibratory frequency he was speaking from that really, you know, minds popped all around him, because there was just that constancy of that vibratory frequency to join with and enter into. But of course, that's happening all the time around us, and we can use anything in that sense in order to do that if we listen beyond the words, if we get out of the way and choose to join with what's appearing rather than continue to push it out. What does Jesus say? Like to see what's here rather and let it inform us what's here rather than tell it what's happening. That's, you know, so we're in that sense rather than, you know, even the words, Franz, even though I can say a perfect sort of perfect description of what's occurring, but going beyond the concepts is allowing that light to do its work and enter in, so their minds are opening up into a more full experience of inclusion of what, and also transformation, so we see what's out, see what's here, rather than, you know, we're getting the eye that's agreeing, the eye that's commenting, you know, wants to comment about it, that eye is getting out of the way. So just that field of light is being returned, and there's a fullness and an extension and in that inclusion that sort of envelops and wraps around everything that's appearing. So we start seeing with light instead of through that conceptual blah, blah, blah.
I wanted to add to that. It's always in the present moment. You know what I mean? Like what you were saying, I was feeling like it was almost starting to evolve into not what you were saying, but just the whole activity. Because in the moment, the activity was the activity, but then to kind of step away from the activity and start to talk about like what I experienced almost was like, but I love when you said that even Fran in your speaking is the same activity, because it is the same, even though there's a going back into like describing it, but that's okay. That's not what I'm listening to. I'm listening to what's happening in this moment. So this always this drive to be right in the present moment with whatever's occurring. Because in my mind, I'm like, we're talking about the music, but no, we're never talking about anything. It's just in this moment, whatever's arising. And my constant denial of what's in the moment by trying to hold on to it so that I can use it later or whatever. But even now, like it's just always happening. It's just always present. Whatever is provided right in this moment. So thank you. Oh, Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Annie. Thanks, Fran.
Mm.
Uh,
So yeah, it's always we're turning the tables right now. We're turning the tables over right now. And yet, it seems that we can talk about something that is inclusive. Like I said, Tina was saying you guys all got homework. So even in your expressing whatever miracles or whatever's on your hearts and mind, that can be included back in. Or there's that seeing and learning with and through each other. And it's always over and gone. So you have to include that back in too.
Funny.
Yeah, so there is that opportunity to bring to light anything that's on our hearts and minds, anything that feels it needs to be expressed in the field of light, so it can be that transformation go on, that conversion go on, that turning the tables over on that trapped, however it's formulated, energetic. Yeah, so you guys, you've been around long enough to know you're not really listening to a person. You're listening to a voice, and I'm hearing, and it doesn't matter what's sort of coming out. The purpose is in my mind. So I'm not here gathering concepts that I can store away and use later. The idea is, I'm listening to that frequency, the voice. I'm the one that's choosing in that sense. And it's not really about what's being said. It's being about choosing in the moment and choosing to listen to the voice that's beyond the words, even though the words might be pointing to that voice. But in that sense, anytime there's an appearance, like Jesus says, your brother's always right, not because of what he's saying, but because of what he is. So we're not listening to the concepts, the voice, the appearance in our dream. A brother seems to come and he's talking, whatever he's saying. There's moments that you might, through the certainty of your own mind, be and transformation, you're given to say something that might seem like you're pointing to the truth in the face of in something that seems insane. But really, you're letting that, first of all, letting that frequency, whatever that voice is, arise, and letting that come back in without giving it meaning. So that you join with what's beyond. You join with the brother that's beyond the figure that's speaking whatever the fuck's coming out of the mouth. Whatever those ideas, because the salvation is always beyond concepts. The love, the light is beyond the concepts. It's not in form. It's not what somebody does or doesn't do. It's not what they say or don't say. The love is beyond concepts. And it's always now. It's always available. That miracle's always here. But then when we feel these blocks, and again, we might reach these points, there's seemingly stages in this process, and which is, you know, I was just thinking about this morning how amazing it is. Jesus really tells us every step of the way in that sense through the course. And he says, this is going to happen. For most, you know, he says for most, it's a slowly evolving process. Now, it seems like there's a most here for a moment, that in time, it's as if we're all in different points of time in our remembering how much we've converted, you could say, even though there really is only one mind awakening. So for a moment, he's telling us this is going to happen. You know, you'll go along, you'll have all these things happen, and then you might hit a point where you back away from truth for a moment, or doubt thoughts will come, but they'll go. You know, you'll take as if you are walking up a ladder, even though there's no ladder. And you have to let that be the way it is, even though it's paradoxical. Otherwise, you're going to skip over these things and use concepts to skip over what's required of you in the transformation. So you've reached and you've converted a chunk. So if the iceberg is the same as the water, but it's been contained, in a sense, it's been seemingly solidified, so it looks as if it's something else. It's an iceberg instead of free-flowing water. And you go along and you're applying this and you're converting and transmuting whatever that's arising in your mind, those frequencies of energy that seem to be an absence of love in whatever form they're coming in, whether it's depression, anxiety, anger, fear, whatever the ideas that are being seen and brought home, and those projections. And you might say the iceberg's this big and you've converted that much. And then you might plateau for a while and it seems like you wander off maybe for a while. It really depends on our determination and perseverance, but nothing's gone wrong. He tells us all these periods will happen during the course of the whole awakening process. So that's where you can rest. We can rest in that knowledge that it is a done deal. Yet it's important that we keep, if we want that peace. And that includes noticing how much we don't want it all the time too. And so again, as we go deeper into this, we notice all the subtleties of things that we have made exception to, where we haven't applied it because we haven't noticed their thoughts and they have an energetic, we've just taken on the story of what's occurring. So we haven't noticed they're a package of thought are centered around this I thought. But allowing that all to come up, exposing all that, allowing the energetics that are associated with that thought, all that feeling and sensation, then you're going to start seeing the subtleties more and being able to include those back in and free that energy up.
Maybe we could here's some practical examples given the assignment that was given this week. The assignment was I didn't think you were here, Jennifer, but I hope you saw the video and posted in the chat. But we were working on lesson 153 in my defenselessness, my safety lies, and then just basically that was the opportunity to, you know, I know we're all applying it all the time, but to really notice during this week if anything came up and what standing in defenselessness, what miracle it provided for you. So does anybody, oh, Annie, I'm sorry. Do you have anything to
What?
lead into that? Do you have anything
No,
to
no,
lead
no,
into
no,
that?
no, not at all. Oh, I was just going to
Because
add.
what you were saying was a nice little lead into what that is. So I just wanted to go
Yeah,
ahead. Sorry.
no, perfect. And it is, and it's like all the places we're noticing, all the places where we are defended. And also we, you know, whether we want to hang on to those defenses and at that moment. And again, sorry, I was given this process, which I just really love because it so includes all that into it. Like it so includes our resistance. And that's where the self-honesty comes into it. So that's, you know, because there's an energetic associated with that unwillingness, you know, it's like, no, I'm not willing. And again, when that's, you know, I want to hang on to this, it's sort of like, you know, am I willing to let this go? No, unwilling. Even just in the admittance of where I am with that and the seeing of that loosens something. It's like this self-honesty that includes all my resistance back in, because you are perfect light. You are pure light. You are pure non-resistance. It's only the ego. This is only required within while the ego seems to be something. So it's like the ego undoing, you know, it's like that old idea of the thorn, taking out the thorn. So because it's the ego judging itself. Jesus says, you cannot judge. Now, it doesn't mean like, oh, because you don't know, you cannot judge. What you are cannot judge. It's impossible that you can judge because of what you are. The seeming judgment, remembering not to laugh at the tiny mad idea, generated a mind that seemed to be able to judge. So you're looking upon the ego, the one that judges itself, even the one that says, I'm willing or I'm not willing, because you are total willingness. You are the will of God, and God's will is total. There's nothing in you that does not will with the mind of God. I'm just misperceiving. I'm misperceiving because I haven't seen through the entirety, or I'm not seeing. And in a moment, bam, there I am. But if there's residue, it's going to come up that needs to be cleaned up. So yeah, go on, Tina. But yeah, so we notice whether that defense is where I'm not defenseless. He says these lessons, in my defenselessness, my safety lies, not only to tell us the truth, but to see where I am defending myself, so I can look upon that and stop it, or hold, you know, notice I don't want to stop it. I want to hold on to this. But even like that, noticing and being truthful and honest, there's a loosening. It's like you're including your own denial back in, no matter what it's looking like, whatever face it has on when it's arising.
So anybody got anything? How does Gregory say it? I'd love to hear your miracles. He sent me a message. What did he say? So beautiful how he said it. And it was funny because we were talking about it, but he just naturally, you and I were talking about it, naturally he just sent me a message. What did he say?
Yeah, right.
It was so lovely. I woke up to it.
He heard us talking about him behind his back.
He said, oh, wait. No, it must have been in a voice clip. Oh, no. I can't read it to you. Anyway, but it was just really lovely like that. Like, I know you're going to get ready for your day of miracles, and I look forward to hearing about your miracles. And I was like, yes, I am. So anyway, I would love to hear your miracles. Anybody have anything to share?
Yeah.
Awesome. There it is. Boom.
Uh,
Let's count on Fran.
yeah, absolutely. Words don't always fail me. The there were some subtle things. I remember the assignment being saying yes, okay, to the voice, to Jesus. Okay, that was the framing. And as I contemplated that, and my first reaction was, oh my God, he's gonna, Jesus, spirit, whatever's gonna ask me to do something I don't want to do. Okay, that's the first thing. And that's always there. That's that little blip. It's not as, I don't rationalize it anymore, but it's always there initially. That's the first hunk of the iceberg, little chip. So
Fran, can I just before
Yeah.
you go on, that's really cool because it is like reminding ourselves that ego always speaks first too. And I just read, recently I've got all these messages from Teddy where he said he went through a period where he just completely reminded himself, oh, the ego always speaks first, whether it's coming through this association or that association, or where we're just hearing it like you did. What's he, so that's really cool just to notice that. Don't have to do anything, just be aware. Oh, that's that boy.
And I'm grateful for that, because the practice, this work we're doing, this practice is just kind of keeping balance of all things. So the first little thing that popped into my head, and this was, I'm lying there and something was going on in what I was watching. I think there was some kind of movement. I don't think it was me. Well, nonetheless, I got this little thing, get up and move with this. I mean, I'm just lying here, fuck this, I'm not going to do that. But I thought, oh, there's something to say yes to. So I did. I got up and did a few things that kind of moved into Tai Chi kind of movements, whatever. That was it. And just went back to bed. Didn't think of anything about it, just answering, doing it. Okay, just responding. And it was funny because I woke up without any back pain, because I often wake up in the morning, and I thought of that later. And it may not even been part of it all. I may have just conjured these things and put them together, giving the meaning, whatever. But it didn't matter. I said yes. And that I clicked off one thing. And then I had a big gut-wrenching piece in the field of concealment popping up. I really wanted to, something came up on Facebook. I responded, the person responded back, and I wanted to go for their throat, and I went into the tizzy. I got out those sheets, radical forgiveness, filling that motherfucker out. Just, am I resisting? Hell yes. On and on and on. But it was a process. I still had residue, but immediately with the yes, okay, projection, I need correction. Okay, I'm learning from the voice. If there's projection, I need correction. I'm really experiencing that the correction is full of grace. So I'm less resistant of it. Well, perhaps, at least it seems so. Anyway, sometimes. And so I did this thing because this person I really looked at, blah, blah, and a lot of it shifted and changed and this and that. And it lasted over a few days, bits of it, what concealment and just the process. And then I had something with my grandson today, and I am listening to these guys, Matt and Andrew, and I'm listening while I'm also feeling this interaction, this text thing going on with my grandson, and I'm realizing that this whole thing of being responsible, I have done this unto myself. Came home so powerfully today. In particular, yes, something really shifted. A big hunk of that iceberg fell into the flowing water. Because I didn't do anything. I wanted to clack back. Oh, and I was going to make it holy and spiritual and compassionate and all that happy shit, but I didn't do anything. And I just sat there with it and realizing that this substance that is concealed, as I'm hearing these young men, is gold. It's gold. It is the substance of my truth. So that was, these are like, if there's no level, whatever, but just for the sake of being in this fucking dream and language, you know, there was this little yes, there was this, and I didn't ask, I just did these exercises and I'm listening. And so there's that level. And then there's this level of seeing truly the opportunity, not just parroting the program's word, the course's words. I don't know if you know what I mean there, but I do a lot of, oh, this is an opportunity for forgiveness. You know, fuck. I don't want an opportunity for forgiveness. The way I was seeing it before, it became part of the illusion for me. And anyway, I mean, and I do those things, but now never mind. Those were levels. Those were levels of the loosening. That was part of the loosening too. And then something was said today, and I still have this residue from the Facebook encounter and the thing with my grandson, but something, the substance has been, I see the light, forget the words, but there was something that was said today for these young men, and it hit home. So it says, at some point, first of all, release is not an event. I'm not going to get rid of anything. I'm not going to get rid of it. It's an ongoing, as long as we are in this thing, it's like this big string I keep pulling up from the dungeon. Okay. It's just this one string, and of the concealed field. So I'm constantly, as long as I'm here, y'all know what I mean by here, buying into the illusion, even though the other illusion I have is that I'm releasing, I'm undoing it. That's part of the illusion, but that's, they said, I think, right-minded. It's a right-minded illusion, like the Holy Spirit. So I'm now, okay, releasing, undoing, timeless releasing of the illusion of time. But it comes to a place, an instant or something, that where there's no more questions. There's no more answers. There's nothing that makes sense to even question. So I you know, couldn't formulate the question. And you just, the instance where you just fall in love with this process of undoing. And that substance is the bliss, the certainty. Again, blah, blah, blah. And when I was sitting here with all this, and right now, Douglas, I love that name for him. It always talks about revelation ready. And I always had that, like I was, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that, I'm going to leap over the building, I'm going to tap dance, I'm going to get up, say yes to Jesus. And I'm going to get hit with a powerful sucking up into the oneness. Well, what I am revelation ready. I am in the middle of the revelation. The revealing process is going on now. And I'm falling in love with this process. That's all.
Right now, Fran.
Well, that's all. That's again.
It's like,
It's like my brothers
I'm
used
gonna
to always
go, it's
go to the
happening right
academy, used to
now.
go, just fall in love. It doesn't matter what with or what, just fall in love.
Right now. Right now. Right now. Yeah, the story of how we got here, like right now. Can you be it right now? You know what I mean? The story's like, this is how it's like, oh, but right now. Can I allow it right now? Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's because in our like egoic mind, we just love to make it really complex. I've got to do this, I've got to listen, I've got to hear guidance, all this fucking stuff, man. And it's like, no, it's sort of like, just do this one thing and everything will just take care of itself. And like, because everything that's appearing that it seems to be an absence of love that I perceive in my mind, when I meet that, it turns into love, because there's that alchemy. The transformation takes place. There is no will but God's.
And there's no thought in it. It's like it just happens. Like I don't even have to go, this is what it just, because it's always there. It's always there. Yeah. Except I'm constantly denying and distracting and telling the story about how and it's fucking like right there. And as soon as I just drop that, it's available. It's like, I had an experience, and I'm not going to tell my story, but I had an experience where it really it dropped away and my body leapt up.
Tell us your miracle. Tina.
No, I just want to say that one part. Just that one part, like something dropped away. I'll tell a little bit. You guys know the whole story, and it's so boring about my gig and my job and blah, 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 and all the things that are coming in. And I was doing some stuff that morning, and I was in so much joy, not in my job. And anyway, a conversation was happening with Dave, and he sent me like a picture of Iceland, and I'm like, this whole Iceland thing. And so I said to him, I said, brother, I think you're going to have to get your mind right, because I feel like this whole competition thing has dropped away from me. When I met with Francois, you and I had that conversation. We were doing Lesson 153. And that night, it was like I saw how I was totally defending myself. I was saying, using all these spiritual platitudes, but at the same time, I was doing a whole lot of stuff to make sure that I was going to protect this image of myself. When we had that conversation that night, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. And when I said I'm not going to do that anymore, the next day my coach was fired. And so my mind wants to go, now I'm relaxing because my coach is fired. No, my coach was fired because I made the determination that I wasn't going to do it anymore. The same thing happened with Dave. I said, brother, you got to get your mind right, because I feel like this has washed away. Like I'm in the joy right now, doing everything but my job right now. I don't want to go to my job right now. 2 months ago, I would have been up in the morning at the crack of dawn, protecting this persona that I created for myself. I said, you got to get your mind right, because I don't know. Like I'm at the bottom of the list, and I don't know if Iceland's going to happen. And he sent me a message back, and I'm in the market when he sent me the message. Sent me a message back. He goes, I don't care about Iceland. He said, I wanted to push you. And all I heard was that part. I don't care about Iceland. And I couldn't even listen to the rest of the message. My body just leapt up, and I was jumping around the market because I was so grateful. That competition was gone from me, and the joy of like feeling like I was being allowed to be who I want, like just natural. Like I could give two fucks if anybody else beats me. I don't care. I don't care. I just want to be free. And it just came out. I was like jumping around the market. I'm leaving him a message, and everyone in the market was infected by this. There was all this joy happening. It's not me, but it was just a dropping away of this whole defense, and the freedom came up, and my body could. It was so beautiful. And the ego, don't get me twisted. The ego recovers. The ego recovers, but so much dropped away. Something else came up, and you got to have gratitude. Like the truth came up. The truth. This was all a distraction. This competition was a distraction. The truth was, I don't want this world. I don't want this world at all. It's just limitation. I just feel limited. I can't get up in the morning and go to work. It's everything in me to get up in the morning and go to work. So now that's what I have to include in now. Now that's what's coming up right now. That's what has to be included now. But it was like all this other stuff was trying to make it seem like this specialness with this is what, no, it's all the same thing. I feel limited. This is not my home. Nothing here makes any sense. Now include that in. Now include that in. Oh, there's just something else that wants to happen now. But it was, it took, anyway, I just wanted to share really the part that like, it's right there. Like that joy is right there. Nothing, there was no machinations.
No.
Nothing. It was like, it's always available. And thank you, Father.
It's really like, to me, it's sort of like that idea of the magic eye, you know, the 3D picture. And it's like, you know, you're trying to see, and then it's like, bam. And it's almost like there's no transition point in a sense. It's like you go from that machination and action of mind to, oh, here it is, sort of thing.
And the mind always wants to reverse the cause and effect. It wanted to go, because Dave said that, then I, like, that's not true. Dave said that because something shifted in me where I was like, you know, I'm done with this. I'm done with this. And then Dave said what needed to be said. Dave said what I needed to hear at that moment. But the mind goes, it's because, so you still got to do some healing on that. You still want to pick, you still want, and it's like, no, fuck you. That's not true. That's not true. I'm not going to accept that. That's not true. That's not true. Because that would mean that I'm at the mercy of the effects out there, including Dave. You know what I'm saying? No.
And I really do, because I mean, we all do. We all know. We took the acid and then we had the experience. It was something informed. That brother showed up. He said that, and then my mind opened. But no, somewhere it's we're always at cause and we're out of touch. And it's funny, I just led into I sort of went, is there anything to just have a look at very quickly before we came in? And it's like we are so out of the touch with the power of our mind, you know. So, you know, I'll just read this quick paragraph. But it says that it's in the test of truth for everyone who's got the sparklets, page 342 in the text. And he says, yet the essential thing is learning that you do not know. You know, it's that open-minded, that innocent open-mindedness. That's our natural state. It's funny because it's that paradox of like knowledge is completely available in that not knowing. So it's that paradox of not knowing and that open, innocent mindedness that not knows. So I like to say, rather than, because whenever I say I don't know, it sort of feels like that central self-I, but the not knowing state of mind that is always ever present, that is what you really are, rather than this seemingly centralized I thought that makes it seem like there's a self-center here. That not knowing state of mind, it's open, it's innocent, it looks upon all things without judgment. It not knows. It's not saying this is this. It's not giving meaning to the imagery and saying this is what's happening and telling the stories about what's happening, what have you. But that's the mind. We can look on the storyteller and the imagery and whatever, and and see. So we see that storyteller and that image maker differently, and we learn that that is not us. But he says, yet the essential thing is learning that you do not know. Knowledge is power, and all power is of God. You who have tried to keep power for yourselves have lost it. You still have the power, but you have interposed so much between it and your awareness of it that you cannot use it. So it's like, even with sort of the purification is part of like coming back to the point where we really see we have the power of decision. We really are the decision makers. We are really the image makers. We're it, baby. And we're using the power of our mind either in denial of what we are or for ourselves. And we're using everything to free our minds and bring our minds back into this moment, this present moment of vision and seeing everything that is here rather than everything that's not. Everything you have taught yourselves has made your power more and more obscure to you. I liked how Teddy used to play it. You're so free, you can think you're bound. Like, it's like you have so much power. You can think you're this tiny little speck in a huge, what seems to be this huge world outside of you. That's how much power you have. You really convince yourself that you are powerless. You know not what is, nor where. You have made a semblance of power and a show of strength so pitiful that it must fail you. For power is not a seeming strength, and truth is beyond semblance of any kind. Yet all that stands between you and the power of God in you is but your learning of the false and your attempts to undo the true. So we're learning to see the false as false and seeing we're attempting to deny the truth. And that restores us. That seeing, we're learning to see. And that restores us to vision and restores us to true authority and true power. I hear an amen, brother.
Hallelujah.
Right here, right now. Funk soul brother, right here, right now. Funk soul brother.
Oh. Oh. Hmm.
And
I wanna get some lessons in
just going into what Fran was saying, just that little yes, it's like saying yes to these little things, these little prompts that and you see yourself arguing with it, which is really good. You notice the argument, meh, 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 but so again, you got to let that be there for a moment. Don't try and, don't try and deny that or push that down. Let it come up and of course, as you go through, that argument will probably become less and less. So, most likely, or it does, as transformation. So.
Yeah, continually say yes to that little argument. I mean, it took me all the way down. You know what I mean? It just really took like saying yes, because I didn't want to do any of these things. I didn't want to compete. I didn't want to do anything, but saying yes to it, going all the way into it, seeing that there is no peace. And then going, wait a minute, why am I choosing something that is not peaceful? Why am I making that choice? And then what is that about? And the more saying yes to that and more looking at that, and then like now it's like I don't know that it's the bottom. I have no idea where I am, but it was not where I was 10 minutes ago, or last night, like praying, like I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. And I need help. And you mentioned responsibility for sight. I have to take responsibility that this is coming to me because I asked for it. And I'm getting all of these things. And but the I'm in the activity of healing now. So I asked for it. I'm going to use this. I'm not using anything. Holy Spirit, help me to use this for the healing of this mind. Like fucking finally, like no more like just. So that's what the prayer is like. And I feel it, like the fear of I have to have a job. You know, and I mean, these things like, who am I? Who am I? I'm a holy son of God. But I'm like, I have to have a job. And that's real talk. I'm looking around and it's like, that's what we do here. And it's like, oh, this is not my home. And I'm fucking terrified. And yes, fucking yes. I have
And I've
no
got
idea.
all the imagery too out there to say, yes, look, we do. Look, those ones there, da 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 da. Dave has a job, you know, like, but he's part of my dream imagery, the Dave character. That's not the Holy Son of God, you know. So we
Yes.
use, you know, the brothers that show up for us as the voice, you know, the voice and reminders, and look at them as in their body form to convince ourselves like, oh, they do this. So, you know, that's how it, no, I'm not seeing them as they are. They're that character is an image in my mind. That's part of the imagery, the dream imagery. The one behind it, that voice is coming through, is the Christ behind that image. But I'll use everything that seems to be happening in my little dream world to go to justify, yeah, well, you know, that it is. So we really want to be noticing that too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did, you know, I must have wanted this because here it is. That is the power of my mind. But I didn't want, there's the denial I have. I'm terrified of that power because I don't want to take responsibility for it because I made this mess and I don't want to take responsibility for it. So it becomes this logical thing. Then I'm back to, I don't know what anything is for. So if I can just, I don't like this anymore. I made it, but I don't, I must have wanted it. I did want it. I don't want it anymore. Boom, simple. I did, I don't. Now what? And in the now what, that's the allowing. That's the spirit can work. Or the, you know.
That's letting out the little gap. Mind
Yeah.
the gap. So
Yeah,
I pause, I mind the gap. I let a little crack for the light to come in.
Yeah. The not knowing. You know, no clue. Be you in charge.
So does anyone else like with, you know, want to share, tell us your miracles over the last week? We need a little picture of Greg here.
Exactly.
Tell us your miracles over the week, Jennifer. I want to hear about your miracles. I can't too, Greg.
That was good. Francois, Kevin. I know you said yes. Anna, I know you said yes. Or anyway, I mean, Christine, nice to see you. Oh, Shannon too.
I was going to tell a thing, but I didn't know if you'd hear the sounds of huffing and puffing
It's
as
all
I'm
included.
walking. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yours or mine?
I'm almost about huffing and puffing. So yeah, I will say yes to a couple things, and one of them kind of cracked me up. First of all, I started by renting Yes Man, the Jim Carrey movie that you guys were talking about. Oh, it was great. I'd never seen it before. And oh, and by the way, if you're out there, I can't see the whole gallery, but this is only the second time I've shown up. So if I haven't met you, hi, I'm Shannon.
Shannon.
Anyhow, hi. So I committed to yes, and then forgot that I did. After I saw the movie, I just thought that's fun, and then forgot. And my nephew and niece had taken their family on a cruise, and I had made it very clear to my sister that I didn't like cruises and they leave this huge carbon footprint, and I was being all judgy about it, and I and I had done cruises before with my ex-husband, and so there was just nothing about a cruise I would ever do again, right? And I was pretty clear on that, and so I couldn't believe it when I walked into her house and she goes,
Shannon, I don't know whether you can hear us, but you're frozen.
And we're all waiting with bated
Right at the good
breath.
part.
Walked into her house and she just goes. And she
So I
was
don't know
gone.
if you can hear. If you turn your camera off, maybe you'll have enough juice to.
Yeah, and it might be an
finish this
idea to
down.
stand still while you're speaking, because I know often we lose connection if someone's on a phone and they're walking around. Did you hear us, Shannon, that we really can't? You're muted now, but
I
you
just got
froze.
that. Yeah, it went
Yeah,
away. It
yeah.
went away, but I'm about to sit down now,
Okay, cool.
so that'll help.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the last part? That
Walked into your sister's house and she
oh
goes.
my gosh, and then I went on and on. Okay, all I'm saying is she says that my nephew and niece had booked us for a cruise for next September, and they paid for it, and I now had committed to yes, and I thought that is the wildest joke on me, that would be the next thing that would happen after I was being, I don't know, whatever I was being, so sure of my position or whatever. That was that. And there was another one. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I'm going to pass it on until I remember, because I thought sure there was something else, and yet it slipped my mind, because that one really threw me.
I'm looking forward.
Yeah. I don't know.
Nice.
Hey, Jenny, we're just people are just sharing their miracles over the week where there's been some sort of either seeing or a shift in mind, or Shannon just shared a hilarity where she was determined to like say no, but she'd been saying yes man, and all the past associations, like Shannon, is that fair enough? There was all those past associations.
Oh yeah.
In relationship to this situation that arose in your mind the instantaneous response is like no to it, because I'm listening to those past associations.
And all the, there was judgment, and I was just holding on to all these, very specific ideas that to me put myself in a very, I thought I was right. And then I got shown, well, yeah, but guess what? What if somebody wants to show you that they love you? What if somebody wants to give a gift to you that is a gift that goes against your construct of what that should look like? That was the gift to me.
Of that. Like I always go like, so when I was over in Wisconsin, 1,000 years ago, and I was sitting next to the old man in the library and he was sort of like the sort of main, let's call him a teacher for a moment. Anyway, so I was sitting next to him and he was reading through from, I think it was Conversations from God, Donald Walsh, and he was trashing the fuck out of it. Like he'd look at something and he'd trash the fuck out of it, blah, blah, blah. And then he turns to me and he gives me the book, and I just immediately gave it back to me, because in my mind I'm going, I want what you're offering, you know, like I'm thinking, I don't want that trash, I want what you're offering. And he looks at me, and it was like, it was this lesson. I still fucking haven't learned that, you know, every like recently I still haven't fucking learned that lesson. It's like it's like it was like, your brother's offering you only love. There's only love. So your brother's offering you, just be graceful and say thank you, you know. You know, there's only love being offered, no matter what it looks like. So
Absolutely.
so it was really funny. And I you know, I go, oh fuck, I still haven't, you know. And again, it was like another association from that seeming group. He was there for years, this guy Henry, and apparently everyone used to make her want to fuss and make Henry a birthday cake every year, and Henry would be like grumbling, blah, 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 you know, he didn't want the birthday cake and that. And again, the old man sort of turned to him, and Henry, just take the cake, your brothers love you, and they're just bring you love, you know. So I'm really glad that you know, saw it that way, you know, that whole lesson in that was there. Just, it's just being love, given and received, no matter what it looks like. There's really only an expression of love.
I remembered the other one. My sister's had a panic attack. For, you know, the context maybe matters or doesn't, but she had a panic attack, and she's had them. She's had several of them over and over again. And I traditionally, we have a close relationship, and we're sisters, right? So we have stuff. But traditionally I would take it on to try to whatever, rescue or something. But I was trying to be still. I was trying to be still and trying to just sort of create a environment where she could move through to where she needed to get to about it. And I popped on YouTube and I watched one of your old meetings, and it happened to be a year ago. And what do you know? Somebody's talking about panic.
We lost you again, Shannon.
And all of a sudden the energy was, oh no, I'm sorry. You did? Am I back?
Yeah. If you've got a phone, try and keep it still. Try and keep it still. Often, I find with people have got, if they're moving them around a bit, you know, even it
messes with the signal. Yeah. Sorry about that. Anyway, the discussion was about panic attacks and about how that energy moving through, and to try to not shift, not adjust, but move through it. And I immediately sent it to her, but I felt that. I felt the presence of helpers beyond me, because there's no reason why I should have attached to that particular message. So that I'm grateful for that one too. That's it. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks for saying yes.
Yeah, I'm into this yes thing.
Well, you should be.
Yeah, keep being into this yes thing.
Thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, so that is, I mean, I know a lot of guys, I mean, for me, you know, it used to be taught, just say yes. And unfortunately, I didn't really know the context, because it is, so it was really, you know, I was saying yes without converting. But with that background, I'm saying yes, and it brings up all my no's. so I can, all my resistance to saying yes, so I can really let that go. So it is like when there's an invitation that's extended, and you know, it's not like wrong or right, you know, if you don't seem to take the action, but if there's an invitation extended, that yes, whether it brings up, whether you just say yes and you enter into a situation where you know comes up because of whatever the situation, you're faced with another chunk of denial because you walk into a different situation and there it is, or you just at the time you say yes, it brings up all the no's in you, all the excuses, all the like, I can't do it because blah, 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 all that. And then you're sitting with that and letting that burn. And then perhaps you end up taking the action or not, but allowing that dross to come up and just burn through you rather than listening to that voice and really letting that be as if you're telling yourself the truth there.
Exactly.
Because all that is what we're cleaning up. All that no, but is all that we're sitting with to let. That's fire, you know, that's gold for the fire to throw on the fire in the sense. And that's, so sometimes you'll see, oh, it's really clear, I don't need to actually even do it. But other times it's like, yeah, you just follow through and you do what the yes was to.
And the whole phrasing is yes, wow, thank you. And if you can't say yes, wow, and thank you, then help. You know what I mean? And you can't go wrong if that's at the end of it. Prayer.
I can say
you can't
words,
go
I
wrong.
might not mean it.
No, but then if I can say help, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, with the whole thing with the book, I mean, I had a massive headache after, as soon as I got that assignment, it's like, I can't say yes. I mean, and I want to say yes, you know,
Okay.
but I
When
don't want
we
to go
sort of,
into another.
when Dave said go to drive
Yeah,
to Minnesota and pick up a
yeah.
box of books.
And I take to my bed. I want to say yes, but I'm in the bed. I can't do anything anymore. I can't for like a week. And Anna, and Anna's coming to my house. Got to say yes to that. You know what I mean? It's just like, but you and I, Anna, that was really beautiful. Like you and I, both of us, like have this thing, this assignment. We couldn't. There was no full yes because it didn't actually come about that way. So there wasn't a full yes, but there was a whole lot of prayer. You know what I mean? To true up, to try and true up a yes, and you can't go wrong. So you it's a
That's right.
win-win. You get the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, because
That
I
no,
remember that.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, that no is like, yeah, sitting with that no. So it does. There's a conversion that takes place. So yeah, you can't go wrong in that
And the
sense.
willingness, it's just the willingness. You know, I mean, it's like whatever happens, I mean, it all comes back to willingness. Just a little bit, because I can't do it anyway. It's not up to me. But can I just do that part? That seems like the entire thing. And that's like, wow, can I just be willing to say yes? Nope. So I got to look at that. I got to look at that. Then I can be honest. It's not
Because
that I
it's not
can't do it.
about
I
what's
don't want
happening
to.
in form.
No.
It is about burning up this residue of denial.
And do I want to do that? You know, if I'm not even willing, do I want to do that? Obviously, I don't. Who is that? Mm.
But yeah, that honesty, I'm not kidding myself then. I'm not saying, oh, I really want this, when it's like, no, the opportunity to say yes, just there. It's like, and I'm steadfastly gotta, fuck you. Just let go. I'm
So I'm no
Gollum.
longer the victim.
Precious.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not the victim.
My precious littleness and specialness. But that's what it is. It's to just raise that all to light.
That's interesting as I'm listening about saying yes. And all that has been said. And this week, one of the things I said yes to, I'm just realizing that I said yes to something because it wasn't a thing that I thought would be asked. I was I get up very early to do my practice and listen, do a lesson, blah, blah, blah. And I love it. I mean, it's become, it's not a, oh, I should, it's become this thing. So anyway, but later, I feel this, like, just this drain of energy, I don't want to do anything. I didn't want to get up and do anything. And I didn't want to listen to any more Course in Miracles stuff. I didn't want to read anything, nothing. And I was doing a lot of shoulds or more now. It's like, oh, take this from me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, it was all the crap we've all told ourselves. So all of a sudden I just said, wait a minute, screw it. I'm not going to fight this, and I've heard welcome it, blah, 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 and don't resist resistance, that I've had that. And so it kicked in and I'm going, I'm not going to fight this. I'm just going to lay here. And I turned on a Netflix and I watched a British mystery, which is my total favorite distraction. And just, ugh. And because I was so not at peace. I was, oh my God, I'm always going to be depressed, blah, 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 blah. And it went away. Got up and did my thing. Sometimes I don't realize what I've been asked to say yes to, if that makes any sense. But anyway.
Yeah, it is. And that goes to what I'd say was, like, I used to say it, and these guys, sorry, for those who don't know, Anna and Jennifer and Shannon, I was sort of had a prayer. Well, there was stuff on my mind and I actually asked for something, and these guys showed up and they really just use language how I do. They talk about the field, they talk about conversion, they talk about cracks for the light to get in. They talk about they really use language and talk about this really like I had. It's like I've made myself a symbol out there that just use all the language that I do. They also mentioned the dramatization, which I do too. It's like all of a sudden you'll feel this depression or something go on, and instead of trying to get out of it, go into it more fully, which is, Fran, like I don't know whether I understood you correctly, but that's basically what you did yesterday. I mean, I found myself after the session we did yesterday, just the same thing. And it was just like all day, just being like, ugh. And, and that touched into deeper sadness that was coming up in me. Like a friend of mine, she's, her mind was very revelatory, and it's just like all of a sudden she can't do anything and it's stopping, and all this devastation coming up, and arising in all different forms, and it's all there to be met because there's that transcendence into the light. And, and many minds, they'll just flip into the light, but there's a transcendence, and all this stuff, that residue has to be met. It has to be brought home. And there's a line in Helen's notes where Helen asks about Bill Thetford, and she asks Jesus and turns to Jesus and says, why does Bill seem more depressed than usual? And my verbal. And Helen and Jesus says to her, because he's lost his way, in the sense that he's losing his way, Bill's way. So it's like when all of a sudden, you might have however long of just feeling so devastated, and instead of trying to get to the light or change it or fix it or anything. Move towards it. Move towards it. Just be that. Like, it's like dramatizing it. Again, the guys were really helpful with like that voice in your head, you know, rather than, it's like joining with the energy. You fucking can't, you fucking should have done this, blah, blah, blah. Letting that, again, that's sort of like the same in the worksheet that I was given years and years ago to really learn to look upon things. So you're letting the ego have its voice. You know, you're not trying to suppress it. You're not trying to get away from it. It's like you're letting it. You're not sitting back from it in that sense, because there's an energetic. You don't want to be like this aloof witness. There's a transformation that happens. So that, like, going in and like letting that energetic, oh, you fucking cunt, you really fucked it up, you know, but you're kind of letting your mind join with that energetic, and then whoosh, it's washed away, because you're not trying to separate from it. But it's not like there's an action. So it's a subtle difference between when you're just telling the story, oh, you're a fucking cunt, you idiot, you know, no, this time you're really kind of, you know, you're a fucking cunt. It's almost like you're a kid inquiring into it and like, look at, you're a fucking, you know, and you join with the energy of it. And there's that conversion. So there's a subtle difference between just telling the story, oh, blah, 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 this happened, and oh, she did this, da, 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 and you turning towards it and you're going, oh, what's this saying? Yeah, you know, you're hearing, you're really turning towards it. And oh, look at that, you fucking cunt. Whatever the story, you know, however the thought forms are.
It's like the opposite of counting it down and condensing it and concealing it. It's really just letting it have all this space. And I find there is a kind of observation going on though too. You know, it actually creates, it's not an aloof thing, but it is an observation. Oh wow, look at that. So yeah, it's paradoxical. When I get that word back, I quit trying to, you know, figure it out.
Yeah, but so is everyone clear about the difference between like just telling the story, oh, I'm such an idiot, I've done this thing, and really turning towards it and like, oh, I'm such an idiot, I've done this thing. You know, it's like the difference between just, oh, that's what I mean. Does everyone sort of clear on that? Because there is a difference. One converts it, the other just stays in the story of it.
It's like the difference between just an expression, you know what I mean? Like, I'm angry and I'm going to project I'm going to get this out. And it seems like that's what the world says, get it out, as opposed to like Dave says, you know, don't adjust, like allow this pain to move through you. And then when you look at it like it's just energy, then there's a bit of an ability to allow that, because there's not this judgment about what it is and what it should be and how it should, but it's just flowing through. And that's when it can be converted. Is that how, that's the word to use, conversion? You know what I mean? Because you're not separating yourself from it as if there's anything other than the activity of God happening. You know what I mean? Except for me saying that it's something other than the activity of God. There's only God, you know? And if it doesn't look like that, then I'm wrong.
That's for me where I love having the Byron Katie process so intrinsically in my system now, because that's a tool I can use when this stuff comes up to just mat it, you know. Yeah, just do. Yeah, it's an inquiry. So for me, it's a difference between telling a story and truly inquiring.
Annie, I have a question. Because I'm new here, and you said the guys had the language.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Who are the guys?
It's kind of, I'll put I'll send Tina the YouTube. Oh, Tina, you've got the YouTube link. But yeah, so they're a great reflection of just they're a great reflection of that voice and pointing and reminders of this and the whole process and the immediacy
Okay.
and that light and the do nothing. And so Tina will send you a link to their YouTube. They've been having a September, and they're going to have an October devotional, which you can register at any time. They're good time zones for you. They actually have a place in North Carolina in my mind. It's kind of funny because, you know, there's nothing, it's kind of funny, just that whole idea that there's all these countries and there's blah, 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 and there's these folks who, you know, you seem to be able to go and see in a different place, but it's all part of a dreaming consciousness. So it is just that mind, you know, they're another great reflection of our mind. And there's a simplicity for me, and like I said, for me it's like, oh, they've packaged every way I kind of use the language for myself when I speak about this, and they've put, it's like I've packaged a symbol especially for me using all the language that I use.
And we all do. I wanted to just like jump in. I mean, that's really all any external teacher is just, you know what I mean, that same thing. And it's just perfectly orchestrated for us. Even Dave, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I read that in Joel Goldsmith, when he said that, like, any book you're picking up, any teacher that you seem to be attracted to, it's just your mind. It's just your mind.
Yeah.
And at some point you will allow that to just be true. But until then, you know, we use these external, and it's beautiful that you use an example of how it was perfect for you. And it always is.
Well, it's always perfect, but it's just really funny to me that they really talk in a language, the same language that I do, you know, like it's really funny that way.
Yeah. That's how much
but
you love.
so yeah, Tina will send you a link, Shannon, because like I said, time-wise, it doesn't work the best for us in Australia at the moment, because they're doing like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. Eastern, and then 4 or 5 Eastern for the devotional, but they do live YouTubes and stuff like that.
I've not been able to join in time, you know, with their series that they're doing right now, but everything becomes immediately available, Shannon, anyone, on YouTube. And I'll tell you, they have a lot of things. I just plugged in Andrew Hewson YouTube non-dual, and you know, it brings many videos, and I'm finding that I can almost start anywhere. It's the message doesn't have to be sequential. It'll hit home. There's a lot.
And I just want to say, anybody that wants it, just holler at me and I'll send it to you. So yeah, you see it if you want to. Just send it to you. Thanks, friend.
Yeah, but if
Thank you.
The Zooms are not made immediately. The Zoom meetings are not made immediately available because they have to be edited, and they might not get around to them for, they said, a month or two from these devotionals, the daily devotional that's happening in September of October. But you can go onto their site, just look up non-dual devotion, and there's a registration link on that, and you can register at any time. You don't have to, you know, come from the start of the month or anything like that. So if anyone does feel drawn to just pop into those, that's a good reflection for a moment.
I just wanted to, if I could, if anybody else has anything like from the last week, just because it's getting like into a couple of hours, I just wanted to offer that up. If anybody has anything that they really wanted to, because I would love to hear your miracles. And this may be a good opportunity to say yes, even though you might feel a little timid about what you have to share. See if you can. And a yes. If not, so.
I'm sure Janie had heaps, but she's gone now.
There it
Just
is.
yeah, I just want to. This is just this week. This week of practice of and seeing my defenses, it was coming up with a dirty floor, unquote, dirty. And me not immediately being able to sweep it up. But then I remembered the line from the Course that says, ... every part is the Son of God. And it was confirmed by another teacher that everything, this is for me, the miracle is that everything is a relationship. Everything is divine. Everything is Jesus. That dirt I judged was Jesus on the floor. Everything was Jesus. Yeah, it was just putting a face, Jesus' face, this love to judgments on things that I always judge so harshly. And seeing, and it feels like a it's like the tonight session has been the ground, so to speak, that everything is truly is love. It's the I love your analogy of any, it's fucking can't. Oh, but yeah, but yeah. I don't want to divulge from from my experience, but yeah, it was, everything is truly love. Everything.
That's
Everything
beautiful.
is true.
And then in the exposure, I can really allow and look at those judgments, and then there's a willingness. They don't remain hidden. I can go, this is what I think I'm thinking, because they're not your real thoughts. They're really ego thoughts, but I don't want to conceal them. I can admit to them. That's where I find the writing is really helpful. Like, and you're going down and like, this is what I think I'm thinking, feeling, allowing all that to come up. And, so that is I want to see it differently, like allowing it, the letting go, if there's a letting go, but or a conversion of that, so I can see that love that's here rather than what the concepts that I'm plastering on top of it.
Yes, that's what hurt. Yes, that's what the hurting is. That's what, because if then judgment wouldn't be a problem, if it didn't hurt.
Oh, if I see all judgment as meaningless and having no reality, it's not gonna, but it's still like, I think it's something, well, I think it's something, and the conversion turns the tables on it, so it becomes nothing, and I learn it has no meaning.
Yes.
And you never know, you never know how this works too. We might look, and look at seemingly a lot of stuff seemingly coming up. And then there's just a moment, you never know how the miracle is going to where you just, like Tina, bam, and a whole lot falls away because you really see something true and it can't come back. It's like, oh, you know, or it can't come back in the same way. You can't take it as seriously anymore. It might appear again, but it doesn't have the grip, doesn't have the meaning it once seemed to. So you can't take it as seriously, even though it might seem to appear again for a moment.
That heaviness, yes. Of, yeah, believing. It's the believing, yeah. I just keep on hearing all things are echoes for the voice of God. Ah, it just, it makes me, ah. It's, yeah, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Francois.
Thanks.
I'm feeling to wrap it up. Then now I'm sort of getting the prompt to wrap it up. Now, unless someone has anything else they want to really is on their heart and mind before we go.
There it is.
I do. Today I was prompted to go to a journal event, journaling. I've done a lot of journaling in the past, and I just felt like there would be something there for me. And the word settling came up. I've looked at that for a long time, about what I've settled in my life. And the Course talks about why settle for such littleness. And it's, what's in it for me? Nothing. And so I'm just looking at that right now.
Beautiful. And I mean, we are, if we're not just in that glory of God, we are settling for littleness. And there is the admittance of there's some sort of payoff still for me. And just like Tina was talking about before, going into that as deeply as I can until there is a moment where I really see it doesn't serve me anymore. And there's a true, not this. Thank you, Father, not this. All glory, And, that can go, whether it's like some form of unworthiness, whatever, however it's arising in us, but or some image of self we're trying to protect, I mean, we made the specialness, so we love it. In a sense, you are love, so we love what we're made. And that's the beauty of the transformation. Jesus says, and you will love the images you made because they're no longer made of hate. So that's the happy dream in the sense of it's all turned over. You're seeing it's a dream. You're remembering it's a dream. So it has had no effect on your reality, hasn't changed anything. Nothing's really happened, but you can look upon everything with that love and peace and gratitude for all, for what for a moment seemed to be something but was really nothing. So in that sense, that turning of the tables, that conversion to see it differently. But while there is, I'm settling for littleness, and it's become very familiar. So he says you're really afraid of redemption. It's become familiar. We don't remember, or even if we've had glimpses of that glory, it can be quickly covered over again. So in that sense, this, what's become, what is natural has become unnatural to us, and what's unnatural has become natural to us or familiar. So it's just, noticing I am, and show me, take me into that, further in that sense. Not trying to get out of that in that sense until there's a real seeing of not this, and seeing how am I doing that, and where, and we might be just taking little chunks out of the time where we're valuing this, and that's like seemingly the slow evolution where we're dropping chunks where we've invested value into the self concept here in this seeming form, and then another that might be released. It's all the one thing, like Cram was saying, just one string that it seems we might be looking at in a certain form for a moment, but it's all connected to that self concept that denies that glory and grandeur of our reality.
Thank you, Jennifer. That was perfect. What kept coming in, settled is a perfect word. I kept thinking, just making all these compromises. And what also came in is, be ye perfect as your Father in heaven. Like, be ye perfect, perfect happiness. So I'm
And
really
that's
grateful.
what you are. You are already that. It's just concealed for a moment. And that concealment has to be brought to light while it appears to be. So it's like, okay, this is just how it is at the moment, you know. I'm doing this to myself. It's nuts. But,
It's so
you know,
painful.
I've become so afraid of the truth in that sense. And, you know, because it is the death of me in a particular way as I've become familiar with myself. So there's times, you know, that you will feel like you're dying, times that you'll feel like you're going absolutely insane, but it's all part of the undoing process. So fear not. It's all included in.
Thank you, Annie. That's beautiful.
All right, guys. I don't know. Let's just join for a moment, and before we shut the room, and just in that gratitude, thank you for everyone that shows up. Thanks for our brothers. All the reflections that either show us what needs to be converted, and the reflections that remind us, and the glory that we truly are behind all the imagery that's always ever present and available. Thanks. Blessed be.
Man. Thanks, Annie.
Thanks, TT.
Tina, 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 Tina.
Na na ni na ni na ni na.